Welcome to the next session of Ask Me Anything. We are going to discuss in this session what is the right way to practice quant or quantitative aptitude or quantitative ability or math. Is there a right way? Is it the same way everybody has to practice, irrespective of at what stage of preparation you stand? And is it the same way you practice algebra as you do arithmetic and as you do geometry? Okay. So you have submitted a lot of questions. We've just collected all your questions here. So these are your questions, the ones that we got from all of you on the Google form. And if anybody has any questions, which are not getting covered in these questions, you can definitely put your questions towards the end in the chat, and I'll take those questions as well. But first, we'll cover these questions, and mostly I think everything is going to get covered in these. So what I've done is I've categorized similar questions together. So if you see, the first couple of questions are related to how do we go about starting the preparation of quant. So these questions are coming from Khushi and Dasari, that how to study quants as only 4 months are left and I've just started my preparation. Similarly, Dasari is saying how to start the quant syllabus. So basically, if you are starting out just now, see the entire quant preparation, we can say that first you have to get command on the concepts. Okay, so first thing is get command on the concepts. Okay. At this stage of your preparation, don't really bother that much about speed and all. Even before this, basically, you should definitely know the basics. Now, I'm not talking about basics of individual chapters. I'm just talking about the very, very basics of mathematics itself, like how to take LCM, how to compare fractions, how to add or subtract fractions, how to deal with decimal numbers, how to write equations for word problems. These are the kind of stuff we are going to do in how to do cross multiplication. So this is the kind of stuff we are going to do in almost every chapter. So first you should know these basics, and then you have to get command on the concepts of various chapters. Okay, this is the, let's say, the 0th stage of your preparation, and this is the first stage. After this, you try to, build your speed. So that is the next stage is the practice stage. This is the stage when you start getting exposed to various question types in any topic. And then is the revision and test taking stage. Okay, so now irrespective of where do you exactly stand, everybody has to do the same thing. Everyone has to do the same thing. Only thing is that if I have more time, I can devote more time to each of these activities. If I have lesser time, I need to do them faster, maybe in lesser number of days. That is one thing. Second thing is that if I have very less time, let's say with 4.5 months remaining for CAT just now, that's not very less time. But let's say I'm a working professional and I can hardly devote time. Maybe 2 to 3 hours is all that I have every day. And I also need to do VARC and DLR in those 3 hours. Then obviously I'm not being able to devote too much time. Then in that case, we will not only go faster, but we will also be selective. So in that case, we would not cover the entire syllabus. But if you have the time, then you would ideally cover the entire syllabus, because 4.5 months is not that less, which means there is a possibility that you can cover everything and still have time for revision and test taking and all. So if you see, we have almost 140 days to CAT. The entire quant syllabus, just about 35 to 40 chapters, depending on how you categorize them, right? So now 35 to 40 chapters, even if you finish one chapter in a day and a half, even in 2 days, let's say, you are going to take a maximum of 80 days. In 80 days, you will have enough command, you would know the various basic concepts, and then you do a lot of practice and test taking, for which you still get more than 60 days, which is enough time, which is still enough time. So even if you started right now, first and foremost, rest assured that it is not too late to start. You still have enough time to complete the entire syllabus and still get enough command, get exposed to all the variations, practice, build speed, take a lot of past CAT papers and mocks, and go and have a great CAT. So that's very much possible. You're not very late. But in the initial phase, without bothering too much about when you're starting, without being in the panic mode, you have to first fulfill this. Okay, as I said that, yeah, if we are short of time and we can't really do this in 80 days, probably we can just devote an hour or an hour and a half to math every day. Then we will need to be very, very selective in what we are doing. So only topics which have more weightage, probably will stick with those. and but do those thoroughly. The important thing is that whatever topics you are doing, I mean, you should, when you practice a chapter, you should be in a position that if you get any questions from that chapter in CAT or the other exams, which can be categorized as an A level question or a B level question. I'm not saying C, but any questions that you get from that, which is an A or a B, you should be able to crack that. So if you have done a chapter and then you are not able to crack the A's and B's from that, then, and you have done 20 chapters, it is better that you do 12 chapters, but you do those which are asked more frequently and you are able to crack the A's and B's from there. That is more important. So don't be in a panic mode. Give sufficient time. Watch the pre-class videos, go through the concepts, go through the solved examples. When you feel confident enough, attempt the class exercise, or class exercise is something obviously you can watch in the live class also. If you need a recap, do the recap of that. Then you do the practice exercise, and then you take the benchmarking test. So basically make and take good notes. So basically when you have to revise later on with just about 2 months remaining, you can just rely on your notes. So that is the important thing. That is how you start. Obviously, alongside, you are going to do one more activity. Mental math is something you keep practicing throughout. So about 10 to 15 minutes you need to spend on doing your calculations mentally without using pen and paper. Okay. As you get better and better at calculations, the overall speed also you will see that it improves. Right. So this is how to start, just in case you have not started. Okay. Now, what books would you prefer, Khushi? Obviously, if I have enrolled in an institute, I would have done my research before enrolling for sure. So if I have enrolled in an institute, I would trust their material, and unless and until I have utilized that material properly, I would not really look for any other resources, because every top institute is giving you a lot of decent quality material. If you do that, then you are well prepared, basically. Okay, yeah, if you run out of that, just in case, then obviously you can look for other resources. But before you've utilized that, there's no point looking. See, if you collect a lot of material, you're not able to solve even 40% of that. There's no point, right? So definitely do your own material before anything else, right? So now coming to, I hope now I'm audible and visible and everything. Everyone, can you just give me a thumbs up or a yes? Okay, great. So now let's take the next set of questions. And these are coming from um, Madhav and Sneha. And as you can see that these are just about how to improve time spent on every question or how to build speed. So Madhav saying, I'm solving every question of every chapter. Now, Madhav, you may not exactly need to solve every question of every chapter. If you feel that it is very, very similar and you have already done 2 questions of this type or 3 questions of this type, and you exactly know step by step what to do in this, you might even skip. But yes, you need to do questions of every type. That is the important thing. So every question of every chapter, I started preparing 1 month ago, and it takes a lot of time. Now, a lot of time is a relative term, Madhav. So how much time are you calling a lot of time? If you're taking about 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes in a question, and when you are doing it for the first time, that is okay. The first time around, your emphasis is more on getting command on the concepts. Okay, so becoming familiar with the various question types in that chapter. So if you are taking even 5-6 minutes in a question, but not every question, some selected question you are taking 5-6 minutes, it is fine. If you are taking 15-20 minutes in cracking a question, or you are taking 5-6 minutes or more in every question, then that is not fine. So that is the case, then when you need to see why you're taking so much time. Is it because you don't have conceptual clarity? Is it because you are unable to understand the questions? It could be related to problem in verbal ability also. Is it because your calculations are not that good, so you take a lot of time calculating numbers? Or is it because you don't know the right approach and you just do trial and error to figure out the right approach? Or is it just because you copy the data incorrectly, or you are careless in your work? There could be a lot of reasons why one is taking time. So you have to figure out what is the exact reason. Once you know why you are taking time. One more thing that you can do is, if you get stuck on questions, probably you can look at the solution once you've tried out the question a couple of times. And don't do that back to back. Maybe you try once and then you move on to the next question you're not getting. Then you come back after some break and then try again. If you're still unable to crack it, then you see the solution. But when you see the solution, take notes. Note down not only the solution, but also, where you got stuck, why you got stuck, and how did the mentor solve that. Okay, so that's the important thing. So for speed, Sneha and Madhav, as I said, that initial phase focus more on getting command on the concepts. Once you have that command, start practicing with the timer, not just the mocks that you're going to write. Of course, the mocks are going to have an inbuilt timer, but even when you are doing your daily practice, so let's say I'm doing a particular chapter, let's say time, speed, and distance first time, even if I take 5-6 minutes in some of the questions, 3-4 minutes in some more of them, it's perfectly all right. But second time when I'm doing a revision of that chapter, maybe the same question, same set of questions, maybe revised with AI replica questions or similar questions, I would want to be a little faster. So now I would set a timer where I'm going to just give myself a target that, okay, I'm going to practice this topic for an hour and I'll set a timer for 1 hour and I'll try to target 20 questions. So yeah, second time when you're doing, you have to definitely try and look at the speed. And if you are unable to do, maybe probably you are unable to crack a question in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, leave that question. And then once you have done the remaining questions, you come back to those questions and try them again. And then at the end, you sit and analyze your performance, that why actually did you take more time, or what was the reason you were unable to crack a question. If it is a C-level question, fine, nothing to worry about. But if it's a A or a B, then you have to see that why did you take so much time? Okay, again, the same set of questions. Did I not understand it? Did I make a careless mistake? Did I make a calculation mistake? Okay, so basically the same set of questions. So you have to look at the speed, or you have to try and build your speed when you are doing a topic or a chapter the second time around. But when you're doing it the first time, obviously you can't take unlimited time. But if you're taking 5-6 minutes in certain questions, 3-4 minutes in some other questions, 1 or 2 minutes in some other questions, that is perfectly all right. Everybody's doing the same thing. So don't worry about that. Okay. Now, moving on to the next set of questions. Madhav, Sneha, if you're there, you got your answer, just give me a thumbs up so we can move on to the next set of questions here. So this is the next set of questions. I'm solving every question of every chapter started with what this we have already done. So yeah, in fact, there are some more questions here. So, in fact, couple of questions more here related to speed only. Hetvi and somebody has named himself as E. I think you have also got your answers, because basically you had asked the same thing, how to get better with the speed, right? And then E has asked the quant portions very long and I'm having trouble catching up every day, even though I'm not working. And I feel like it's eating into my prep time for other subjects and SimCAT analysis. Now again, see, the answer is very similar to what I told Madhav, that how much time are you considering very long? That's a relative term. If you are devoting a couple of hours to quant every day and you are doing, let's say, 4 hours of CAD preparation every day, that is perfectly all right. But if you are devoting, let's say, 7 hours or 6 hours of CAD preparation every day, and you are doing 2 hours of quant, that is probably not all right, because you need to understand that Quant has got the maximum syllabus. In fact, Quant syllabus more than VRC and DLR put together. So even though all of them have, let's say, more or less equal weightage in CAD, because Quant has got more syllabus, we have to devote a little bit more time to Quant. So the time division or time distribution can't be 1:1:1 ratio, right? So if you are devoting sufficient time, and as I told you earlier, that the per question time that you are taking, if that is not, good enough, you're taking a lot of time, then you need to do the analysis. You need to find out the reason why you are taking so much time. Once you get that reason, figure out a solution for that. Can't do that, connect with the mentor, ask the mentor that, okay, I have done my analysis. I know that this is the issue that I'm facing. This is the reason I'm taking too much time. What should I do to improve on this? Right? If it is calculations, obviously the mentor is just going to recommend that you practice a lot of mental math. If it is careless work, the mentor is just going to recommend that you do all your questions in writing, so that you are more aware of what you are doing in the question, right? So based on exactly what is your problem, when you connect with the mentor is going to give you the right advice if you've done your analysis properly. Okay. And this also goes for accuracy. Like Hetvi, you've asked not only about speed but also about accuracy. Again, accuracy means if I'm getting wrong answers, there has to be some reason for that. right? So you have to analyze and find out the reason. The reason could be one of the ones, one of those that I mentioned earlier. So you just find out the reason. Once you know the reason, then just connect with the mentor in case you can't figure out on your own how to rectify that, and discuss with the mentor that this is the problem that I'm facing. So what should be the best solution to this, right? The the closer is your identification of the problem, the more specific and better would be the solution the mentor can provide you. Okay. Now, let's look at the next set of questions here. So, this is our next set of questions. And this is generally related to revision. How to revise properly that I won't forget the crucial. For example, I completed the first 3 modules, but I'm forgetting them. Still, I need to do module 4. How to solve this? I wouldn't call it a memory loss. It's just a case of retention. How to not forget any concepts in QA and keeping up with revision as modules move on. See, the answer is that whatever subject you are doing, whether it is math or any other subject, you need periodic revision. Periodic revision is a must. Now, how frequently should one revise? It depends on 2 factors. One is how much time you have that you are devoting for CAT preparation in a week. And second, how much of the syllabus you have covered. So if you haven't covered much syllabus, revising once in every 10 to 15 days is also fine. So if you're just revising 2 to 3 times in a month, that would be enough. If you've completed more syllabus, then probably you need to revise every week. You need to keep some time for revision. Revision in Quant is slightly different than the revision in DILR and VARC because Quant has got a lot of concepts first and foremost. Secondly, there are a lot of trick questions. There are a lot of shortcuts. So first and foremost, you need to revise the concepts. You've taken notes, you need to revise your notes. Then you need to go through the shortcuts again. Every time you revise shortcuts, you have to keep in mind that you not only need to know the shortcut, but you also need to know the limitation of the shortcut. What are the question types where it can be applied and what are the question types where it can't be applied, right? So know the traditional way of solving, know the shortcuts, know the limitation of the shortcuts. Okay. And then whatever questions you have starred, whatever questions you marked, if these are the more important ones or these have some trick in them, those questions may be exactly the same set of questions also. If we do them again, doesn't harm you in any way. But you also have got the revise with AI feature. So using that, you don't have exactly the same question, but you have a similar question. So that also is something that you can use for revision. Again, if you have not been doing benchmarking test as a part of your regular homework, then in that case, you can also use benchmarking test as a part of your revision, right? So once in a week, once in 10 days, once in 15 days maximum, you need to allocate some time for revision. And if you are already in module 4 or you finish module 4, then probably you need to revise more frequently. So somebody who's just finished all the 4 modules, he would just try to revise 1 or 2 chapters every day. Okay, and when you do your first revision, you devote more time to revision. So you do every chapter for almost an hour and a half, 2 hours. Basically, you revise everything that is important. Also, in the first revision, you make sure that your notes are foolproof. So after that, later on, when you have to revise, you can just refer to your notes. You don't have to go back to the videos and all. Right. So first revision when you are doing, yes, it has to be a thorough revision. You have to revise everything. And as I said, depends on what stage of preparation you are. If you have still just started out, maybe you only need to revise the good questions that you've done in those 10 days or 15 days. Okay, but if you have covered some syllabus, then you need to revise. Do I need to revise Quant before every SIMCAT? It's not required. Once you've done the first syllabus, once you've revised everything, you will revise or you will analyze, in fact, all the mocks and all the previous year papers that you write. And then you note down your weak areas, you note down your mistakes, and then you just revise those specific concepts. Right. So first revision, yes, it has to be a thorough and full length revision. Subsequent revisions can be very, very, topic specific. They don't really have to be as exhaustive. Right. So this is related to revision. All those who had a revision related doubt, you can just give me a thumbs up that you've got your answer, or if you have any follow-up questions, just share those. And then we can move on to the next set of questions here. I'm just, taking questions, the ones that you've shared on the Google form just now. If you have any questions, you can definitely share them on the live chat and I'll take them up later on. Okay, so fine. So let's move on. Let's look at the next set of questions. And this is, okay, let's see what is this. While practicing the class and practice exercises in QA, many questions I'm not able to solve. Okay. But after trying and checking out the video solution, these questions, then it strikes that it was easy and doable. How should I improve this and how to remember the methods on what and how should we revise? I think Shreya, the revision part we've already covered. So I just covered the other part. I'm able to solve the questions which are discussed in class, but any different types, I find it difficult to solve. Now, different type or different question, they're two different things. Because if it is a different type, it may have a slightly different approach, or it may have some trick in that which you might have not done in the previous questions that you have done. But if it is a similar type, but it's a different question, then you should be able to do what you have done in the previous questions that you practiced. Is the IMS material sufficient to solve different variety of questions? If no, kindly suggest some other material. I'll first take the question that is related to I'm able to do a certain level of questions, but I'm not able to do a certain level of questions. This is a very common question. We have got it from a couple of students, but many more students have this question that I'm able to do the class exercise and practice exercise, but I'm not able to do the benchmarking test, or I'm able to do all three of them, but I struggle in the SimCats. So see, there are reasons for that. The first reason is that when you are doing class exercise and practice exercise, that is chapter is specific, right? You have just done the concepts of that chapter and then you are solving the exercise of that particular chapter. So the concepts are pretty fresh in your mind. When you are writing a SimCat, if I talk about the mock first, it is testing you on the entire syllabus. Okay, so you might have done that chapter 3 months back and you might have never revised that chapter after that. So when you did the class exercise, you could have cracked maybe 80% or 90% of that. But now when you get a question from that same chapter in the SimCat, you may not be able to crack it. So that would be one reason. Second, definitely there is no denying the fact that there is a leap in the difficulty level. So class exercise is supposed to give you the basic application of concepts. Practice exercise is supposed to be, let's say, 15 to 20% more difficult than the class exercise. Benchmarking test would be, or at least some questions of benchmarking test would be slightly more difficult. And then the SimCats are going to be even more difficult. So whenever there is a leap in the difficulty level, obviously one's going to feel that there is the question slightly more difficult. Now, if I'm able to just extend the application of what I have done in the basic concepts remain the same. It is not like, we are going to add something to similarity. Whatever is the way of proving similar triangles, we are going to do the same thing. But the question may be slightly twisted. So if I can see the similarity in that, then probably I'll be able to crack it. If I can't see the similarity in that, I might not be able to crack it. There may be a question that is directly telling me that, A and B are traveling for the same time. There may be a question that is not telling me that, but from the given data, I have to infer that, okay, because A and B started simultaneously and they're meeting at a point, they've traveled for the same time. So if I'm able to do that, after that, the ratio that I'm applying is exactly the same thing. So there is definitely a slight increment in the difficulty level. Now, if we are able to crack it, great. If we are not able to crack it, it could be because of the time constraint, not a problem. Once you have written any benchmarking test, once you've written any SimCat, the first thing that you do after the test is you try and answer those questions which you could not answer during the test without a time constraint. If you can answer those questions later on, then probably it's just a matter of speed. But if you can't answer those questions later on also, then you go to the solution. The solutions are there for your reference only, right? So you go to the video solution. But when you go to the video solution, as I said earlier, you need to do good note taking. Basically, you need to note down, I got stuck at this step. Why did I get stuck? I mean, what was the confusion in my mind? Why did I take a wrong approach? And this is what the mentor did. So what was the gap over there? Okay, was it a misunderstanding of the question? Or did I misinterpret some of the data? What is the reason? What is the gap? As you identify the gaps, as I said earlier also, once you do this exercise, and this is actually true not only for Quant, this is true for VARC and DILR also. As you take good notes of your mistakes and the reason behind those mistakes, and you see the mentor solution, once you've done this exercise over a period of time, let's say 1.5 months, 2 months, you will see a clear-cut pattern in your mistakes. Okay, so you will see that, okay, this is where I generally get stuck in this particular topic. And this is the reason why I get stuck. And this is what the mentor says. So this is the right approach and not the other one that is coming to my mind. So as you do this process over a period of time, it is not going to happen overnight. But once you do this for, let's say, 1.5 months or 2 months, and for enough questions, you will see a pattern over there. Now, coming to the second question, Vidhan, is the IMS material sufficient to solve? First and foremost, it is more than enough. Secondly, we have just about 4.5 months remaining. I'm not sure that somebody who has started 1 month back or 2 months back, would be able to finish all of that and do one revision of that. So looking for more material that doesn't make sense at all. Third thing is also one thing I always say, that one should always stick to a particular set of material. So if you have enrolled in a certain coaching, you follow that coaching's material. You have, you bought a certain package, stick with that package. Because the thing is that if suppose I have created, let's say, time, speed, and distance chapter, and I've created 15 questions which are A level, which I want my students to know, and 20 questions or 30 questions which are B level, and 15 questions which are C level. It is not like I'm going to put all the A's in one exercise and all the B's in one exercise. Or let's say I've covered 15 different type of questions. So it's not like I'm going to put all the 15 types in all the exercises that I'm creating. So definitely in some exercise, I'm going to put certain type of questions and certain difficulty level. And then in the other exercise, I'm going to put the other stuff. So basically my objective or my idea over here is that through 4 exercises that I've given my student, I've covered every kind of question. So if they have done this, they know everything that they need to know. Now, if you selectively do 2 exercises from here and then you pick up something else and you do 2 exercises from there, there's a high chance that there is a big overlap. So what you've done in the exercises that I have given you and what you are doing in the exercises from some other source, you might have covered the same variations, and there are variations that are still to be done, which you have not covered, right? So that's not a great idea. So stick to one set of material, try to do that material thoroughly, revise that material. After that, you feel the need to do more because you've run out of material, yes, then we can discuss what else can be done. Fine, Shreya and Vidhan, and anybody else who had this doubt in being able to crack a certain difficulty level, not being able to go beyond this. If you've got your answer, just give me a thumbs up here so we can move on then. Okay, great. Fine, fine. So let's look at the next question now. Okay, so Aryan is asking how to practice arithmetic and algebra while giving SimCATs. My question specifically in the arithmetic part, how can I make it strong? I'm lagging in it and can't find the ways to crack arithmetic. Okay. So I'll go into a little bit more depth in this because it's not just about arithmetic and algebra. Arithmetic, algebra, geometry, numbers, and modern math. All of them will have slightly different approach from each other when you are doing your practice and revision and all. Arithmetic is a topic where it is generally considered to be the easier unit or the easiest unit among the subsections of quant. So basically the traditional method, the school methods that we have done are also not very long and they are not very difficult. So even if in certain set of questions you are not able to apply the shortcuts, even if you stick to the school method, like you use the average speed formula instead of using the shortcuts, or you use the unitary method for time and work instead of using the LCM method, it will take a little bit more time. So I'm not saying that's the best approach, but basically you can still crack it in a certain given amount of time. So in arithmetic, you need to know the traditional methods first. Arithmetic is also the section which has got maximum shortcuts. Okay, if you see the number of shortcuts that we have in arithmetic is more than the number of shortcuts we have in all the other 4 units put together. So it has got lot of shortcuts, lot of tricks. Try to pick up some of those and adopt those. Basically, when you try the next time a similar question, try to do it by the shortcut method. You've done it by the traditional method, great. You also do it by the shortcut method. So once you do it for some time, don't forget that the traditional method we have done for years in school. So if I've seen a shortcut and I just do it in 3 questions and I feel, oh, my traditional method is better, that is not a fair judgment, right? You have done that traditional method for hundreds of questions and now you are adopting a new approach. So you need to practice some questions. You need to give it some time. And then if you feel confident that, okay, now I know how to, and as I always say, in a shortcut, it is very, very important to know the limitation of the shortcut. So wherever you come across the shortcut, whether it is some resource or, in a live class, the mentor is going to tell you not only the shortcut, but also the limitation of this. That this is where we can do this. This is where we can plug in the values. This is where we can just use the options. This is where we can look at the unit digit and decide. This is where this particular diagram can be drawn. This is where it cannot be drawn. This is where I can apply symmetry in geometry. This is where I can't apply symmetry. So the thing is that you need to know the limitation, because if you start looking for the shortcut in a question where there is none, then you will waste a lot of time. And also one important thing about shortcuts, especially when you are writing a test, is that if the shortcut readily comes to you, then you use the shortcut. If you have to think for the shortcut in a question, you go by the traditional method. Because by the time you figure out that there's a shorter way of doing that, in lesser time, you'll get the answer by the traditional method. Okay, so when you see the question, and how would that shortcut readily come to you? Practice. If you've practiced a lot of questions, you have seen questions of every type. So see, I mean, CAT is of course supposed to be an exam of aptitude and sharp mind and all that stuff. Okay, that's fine. But at the same time, I would say there's a lot of muscle memory in CAT, whether one would like to admit that or not. So if you have seen those kind of sets in DILR, if you've seen those kind of passages in VRC, if you've seen those kind of questions in geometry or the other part of math, you have a muscle memory for that. If you have done practice, revision and all, you know that this kind of question, this shortcut is going to work. And this kind of question, this shortcut. No, that does not mean that you have to learn things by heart. But if you have done enough practice, it is going to come readily to you. Okay, so if the shortcut comes naturally to you, apply the shortcut. Otherwise, you just do it by the traditional method. Algebra is more technical. There are not so many shortcuts in algebra. So obviously you need to solve the technical way, but of course you need to know first of all the formula, and then you need to have done a lot of practice. You need to be good at the basic algebra first of all, factorization, taking LCM, HCF of algebraic expressions, adding, subtracting, most importantly, dividing algebraic expressions. So all that stuff you should know before you move. And one very important part there, how to write equations for a word problem. Okay, because any good topic is there, even a good DILR set is there, we might have to frame equation, which is algebra. But unless and until you can write the relevant and correct equations from the given verbal data, you don't get that answer then. So yeah, algebra practice will be slightly different from arithmetic. Geometry, basically what one has to do is every time you get a question, you draw the figure. You draw the figure on your own. When you draw the figure, many a times it strikes you, right? But if you just look at the figure and try to decode it, sometimes it may not strike you. Okay, and geometry, of course, the practice has to be more intense because in geometry, there are a lot of properties. So first and foremost, I need to know all the theorems. I need to know all the properties. And then I have to see, how do multiple properties work in tandem in a question. So I need to see that, okay, if this property is applicable, then this property can also be applicable probably over here. We also need to practice a lot of questions where symmetry is applicable. We need to practice a lot of questions where we need to do a construction. And then we have to, once we've solved, we also need to think about that why did we construct what we constructed? In the other question, why did I get the answer directly? No construction was required. Here, why did I need to construct? What was missing, which I could not get without doing that construction? Well, unless and until you have that clarity, if there's a question, the test where construction is required, you won't be able to do it. So you need to, get clarity on that. So that is very, very important. So geometry practice, yes, geometry needs more practice than both arithmetic and algebra. We can't deny that. Numbers questions are the most interesting ones because a lot of them, and even modern math for that matter, PNC, lot of them can be done by number crunching. By just substituting the values and all, you can get lots of questions. Now for this, of course, your speed math practice is going to play a big role. And also, the more questions of that type you do, so basically, if you know things like a square cannot end in 2, a square cannot end in 3, these are going to come in very handy when you get a question of that type. If you know 7744 is the only perfect square of 4-digit where the first two and the last two digits are same, and also it's a square of 88, so those 8s are also same. Then if you get, and we got a question of this type in that. So if you get a question of this type, these kind of knowledge of numbers or number substitution or number crunching comes in very, very handy. Okay, so the approach or the practice is slightly different for each section, but the bottom line is you need to do a lot of practice. You've done a particular question type, you should have done a lot of similar questions so that you know that in this type of question, this is the approach. Okay, so how to practice different subsections of quant. If you have got this answer, just give me a thumbs up here. If somebody has a follow-up question, you can just put it here. I'll just take your question. I mean, say, Laksh, there is a certain A, B, and C level. As I said earlier, that if you have enough command in A and B, that is sufficient to take you to a very, very high score in the quant section. But in C level also, certain questions may be categorized C um, because it could be a long solution, but it may not be a very difficult solution. So you need to see the solution. If you can understand a part of the solution, maybe there's a similar question that is built on that question, and the first half of the solution is same, and then the second half is different. Then since you understood half of the solution, probably you can crack the other question, which may be a B level question, right? So you go through the solution. If there's something you can't understand, reach out to the mentor. If you can still not understand, it is perfectly all right to let go of that. I mean, you can't devote 2 to 3 days just trying to figure out a single question with just less than 150 days remaining to get. So you need to understand this, that, from any particular chapter, you are just getting 2 or 3 questions, and all of them are not going to be C level. So even if you get a question from that chapter, it may not be similar to the one where you're struggling. Of course, we can't really take a bet of that type in every question. Otherwise, we'll be leaving out everything. But as I said, that once you've given sufficient time, you have gone through the solution. If you don't get the answer, you approach the mentor and sought guidance from the mentor. The mentor's told you what is the solution, how to go about it. If still you don't understand it, fine, leave it. No problems. Leave it. Okay. Any other questions here? I have a fear of solving quant questions. I mean, Anuj, you definitely need to overcome that fear. That's the only thing that I can say, because you you have a seat at stake. You know that in a few months' time you have to write the test, and how you perform in each of the sections is going to determine. And the cutoff is in quant is not very high, so it's not like you have to become a maestro or an expert at quant. But you need to have a certain basic minimum proficiency. Once you start solving, I mean, I have just seen one thing, and this is not related to math, it's related to everything in life. The fear is, I think, in the first 10 to 15% only. Anything basically. The starting thing is difficult, but once you start and you have done, let's say, about 1/6 of it or 1/5 of that, I think after that you just go with the flow. So if you start doing it on a regular basis, if you hate quant, just couple it with the or combine it with some DILR practice if you like that, or VARC if you like that subject. Do it in smaller periods of time. Don't do quant 3 hours at a stretch if you don't like math. Maybe do 45 minutes, 1 hour, club it between the other sections that you like, but you have to start doing it. Once you start doing it, you are going to get better. You start with the A-level questions only. You look at an exercise, identify the A's, that, okay, these are the 5 easy questions. Let me do these first. Let me just get command on the A level of all the topics. As you get command on A level, you would probably, be inclined to go towards B. That's a natural progression, right? And as I said earlier, that even if you don't have that much command on C, you have enough command on A and B. That's enough to take you past 85, 90. Okay. Any other questions related to this, anyone? Okay, so let's look at the next one. What should be the strategy for quants, as I'm not too good at math and previous year questions? So this, I think we have already covered for each category of a student. So we'll look at the second part here. Previous year questions should be practiced right now, or only module questions, as quants started this month in my batch. I mean, maybe you can wait till the end of module 1 if quant has started this month only. But ideally, yes, if you have covered more than one module, start writing the previous year papers. Everybody should write at least CAT 2021 to 2024. That is 12 papers. Okay. What is also highly advisable is 2017 to 2020. That is another 9 papers. If you have more time, then 2003 to 2008 in quant, hardly anything has changed. Okay, the difficulty level may be more, but other than that, not much has changed. So 2003 to 2008, that is again another 6 papers. So there are a total of, let's say, 27 papers that one can write. We have just about 20 weeks to CAT. I wouldn't really want you to write more than one previous year paper in a week, because you're also writing mocks and the master class and all that stuff. So if you see, we already have just about 20 weeks. We can't even write all 27 of them. So maybe 2017 to 2024, the 21 papers is what we can target, 20 of these. right? So yes, this is the right time, or maybe, yeah, I mean, one can say this is definitely the right time to start. But if you've not completed even one module, then probably you can wait till you complete one module and then start. Those of you who've completed one or more modules, you start writing the previous year papers. Okay. Um, Fine. Any other questions related to this previous year papers or anything? Anybody? Any follow-up questions on this? Please put it in the live chat. Okay. Um, this is not really related to math, so you can just definitely connect with your subject mentor and your batch mentor and ask them when is the portion getting covered. It is, if you've started in May, it also depends on basically how many lectures you're having in a week. So I can't really answer this one. Uh, let's look at the how can I go from zero to hero? Okay, I mean zero to hero. Um, in movies, I mean, it can happen in 3 hours, but in real life, you have to work very hard for that. It is not going to happen like how it happens in movies. So you have to work hard. There is no shortcut in math. You have to definitely work very hard, and you don't need to go from zero to hero in each and every topic. Okay, even if you have enough command in certain topics, certain sections. Let's say you are great at arithmetic and algebra, and you can crack ABC, everything from there. You are already looking at a 99 plus or a 99.5 plus percentile. Even if you crack some B's or A's from the other unit, probably definitely a 99.5 plus, something like that. So it's not like you have to be zero to hero in each and every topic. Quant is mechanical. I don't really understand what you mean by that. So it should be possible. How can I get conceptual clarity using free resources and then practice? I mean, see, I wouldn't really comment on, because there are a lot of resources on the internet, a lot of free resources. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. You have to decide whether, but again, I would say the same thing, what I said earlier also, that you need to identify a good source basically from where you can practice, and then you just trust the resources. So if you have chosen XYZ, you use all the questions of XYZ before you look for another ABC and another DEF. Okay, that's the only way you are going to practice all the variations. So spend some time deciding from where you are practicing. But then once you've decided this is a good source, just stick to that. Don't run here and there. Okay, otherwise you would not be able to practice a lot of stuff. Okay, so this was, I think, the last question that we have got. Um, yeah. Before this, if anybody has any questions, now I can take your questions um, from the live chat. So any questions that you have, you can just post them on the live chat. See, ideally, this session is meant for one doubts. So whether your profile is good to get a call or not, or what should be the tricks, how to practice VARC and DILR. Let's keep it for some other session. Today, let's just stick to the quant questions. So any questions you have regarding any aspects of quant, let us discuss that. Anyone, anything you want to ask? Okay. So I've got a couple of very interesting questions here. But any other questions, anyone? Before, I think those can be our last two questions. So any other questions, anyone, regarding anything? You can just post it here. Okay. So we'll just take these questions. These are, I think, useful for everyone. So first question is regarding cutoff, because we've been talking about 85, 90, and so on. I'll just give you last 4 years. I think that should be more than enough. 85 percentile is the cutoff. Okay. I hope everybody knows this, right? So let's look at 85, 90, 95, and 99. What were the scores required in quant in the last 4 years? So in 2021, okay, you got a 85 percentile at 14 marks. In 2022, you got it at 14 marks only. in 2023, which was supposedly a tough one section, you got it at 11 marks. And in 2024, you got it at 14 marks. So it has been generally 14. Okay, 5 questions. 5 questions correctly you answer, and you are able to clear the sectional cutoff. And this should be this should give a lot of relief to students who are not that good in math. Just 5 questions. If you get 5 questions correct, you don't get anything wrong after that. In the last 4 years, you can see that it has always cleared the cutoff. It has always cleared the cutoff in the last 4 years. 14, 14, 14, 11. So always cleared the cutoff in the last 4 years. Now, at what score can one give some more, let's say, a better score, maybe 90%, 90 percentile? So in CAT 2021, this was 18 marks. In CAT 2022, this was 17 marks. In CAT 2023, as I said, this was supposedly a tougher paper, so this was even lower. This was just 13 marks, right? And in CAT 2024, it's again 17 marks. If you see in all of the given years, 6 correct questions have taken you past 90 percentile. Just 6 correct questions. You don't need 10 questions, 15 questions correct to get to a 90 percentile. Just 6 correct questions have taken you past 90 percentile. Now, if you are trying to maximize through Quant, so you would be aiming for 95 or 99. 95 percentile in 2021, you got this as 23 marks or 24 marks, in fact. In 2022, you got it at 23 marks, right? Then in 2023, which was a tougher paper, you got this at 17 marks only. At 17, one could clear the 95 percentile. In 2024, again, you got this at 22 marks. So maybe it was the effect of 2023 because 2024 Quant was not that difficult. But because 2023 was a difficult Quant, probably because of that, the 95 percentile we got at a couple of marks lower, right? 99 percentile, 36 marks. So this is just about 8 questions. And 36 marks, 33 marks, 25 marks only. Okay, and again 33 marks. That's about 12 questions maximum. Now, what is very important to know over here is, in any given year, in the CAT Quant, you will not have more than 7 questions that can be categorized as C. There is negligible chance that you can have more than 7 questions that can be categorized as C, which means there are 15 questions or more that are A and B. Let us play a little safer and call it 14. There are 14 questions that are categorized as A and B. As I have been repeating throughout this session, if you just get enough command on the A and B, 14 questions, you answer 12 of them correctly. It's 99 percentile in all the 4 years. So, you don't have to be an expert. You don't really need to know everything. You need to be good at everything. And if you are being selective, then you need to be very good at that. So basically, if you're doing only arithmetic and algebra, then probably you have to crack not only the A's and B's, but also the C's. But if you are doing everything, then you are doing great. I mean, even if you just do A and B, you are doing great over there. Okay, so this is very, very important thing to know for people who are from non-math background and who are not that great in math. Also, somebody was asking me about not being able to solve C questions a little earlier on. I think this answers that, right? Fine. So now let's look at the other question that we got here, and then probably that can end our discussion for today if nobody has any more follow-up questions. So one more question that I got here is, what is the weightage of different areas in CAT? Again, I think I'll just stick to the last 4 years only, and we'll just categorize CAT Quant syllabus under 5 broad headings. So arithmetic and algebra and geometry and numbers and model. Right? And model. Well, Starting with 2021, just I wouldn't really write down all the slots. I don't see any sense in that because, it is not like the number is going to be exactly the same. So I'll just give you a range. In 2021, arithmetic range from, let's say, 9 to 11 questions. And in the next 3 years, it has ranged from 7 to 9 questions. Which means in none of the slots in the last 4 years, there has been less than 7 questions. Minimum, there have been 7 questions. If you remember the table I had drawn just now for percentiles, 6 questions in any given year have given you 90 plus percentile, which means if you are great at arithmetic and you can crack all A, B, and C from there, you can go past 90 percentile solely the basis of arithmetic. Right? Obviously, you would not really do that and take that risk because let's say that you get 7 questions from arithmetic and 5 of them are C. Unlikely, but let's just presume that scenario. You may not be able to crack some of those C's or maybe any of those C's. And in that case, you have put yourself in a spot of bother now. So you don't just prepare one section, but yes, I mean, arithmetic alone has had enough questions to take one past 90 percentile. Algebra, if we see, the weightage has increased in the last 3 years. So in the 3 slots in 2021, there were 5 to 7. Yeah, one more thing I would want to clarify over here. This division is not sacrosanct. I'm just going by my categorization. So basically, there will be topics that I see as algebra topics like progressions, and some other institute or some other mentor sees it as a numbers topic. A lot of people categorize progressions as numbers. I see it as algebra. So there would be some difference in categorization. Also, there are certain questions like a profit and loss question that can be done as alligation diagram. Okay, or a time, speed, and distance question, or an equations question that can be done as an alligation diagram. Now, because it's an equations question, one may see it as an algebra question, but because it can be done using alligation, one can also see it as an averages question. So there may be a little bit, different numbers you might see somewhere else. This is just based on how I'm categorizing the questions. So 5 to 7 questions of algebra in 2021, then 7 to 8 questions of algebra in 2022, then 7 to 9 questions of algebra in 2023, and 8 to 10 questions of algebra in 2024. 2024 algebra was, one can say, at par or maybe slightly, it had even more weightage than arithmetic. So if you now just see one thing, which all your mentors tell you during the live classes, you just look at arithmetic and algebra combined. 2021, the minimum number I can see is 9 plus 5, 14, 7 plus 7, 14, 7 plus 7, 14, 7 plus 8, 15. 14 to 15 questions in every slot have been from arithmetic and algebra, right? Geometry, maybe not as much. In 2021, there were 3 questions. Then in 2022, there was certain slot where one can say 4 questions if you consider coordinate geometry as geometry. And then again, there were 3 questions. And then again, there were 3 questions. So of late, last 4 or 5 years, geometry weightage has been slightly less. Here I have included geometry, mensuration, trigonometry, coordinate geometry in my categorization. So 3, 3 to 4, and 3, and 3. This is geometry. Numbers, of course, has not really been the most important topic. So in 2021, there were only 1 or 2 questions. In 2022, there was a certain slot where one can say 3 questions. In 2023, there were 2 to 4 questions. And in 2024, there was only 1 question in each of the 3 slots. Okay. Modern math, the weightage has been even less. So 1 to 2 questions, 1 to 2 questions, nothing in any of the 3 slots. Or in fact, I think in one of the slots, there was a question and 1 question in 2024. So I think this is the data that you were asking me for. What is the scores for various percentiles and what is the weightage of different topics? I hope this gives you a lot of clarity. Now, if you have any other follow-up questions, I would take those. Otherwise, I think, again, I'm just asking you to ask questions related to quant and not really VARC and DILR and your profile and chances of selection in a specific B school. We will have other sessions for that. So this session is for math. Let us talk about math. I'm still left with geometry and number system. Is it possible to cover these 2 topics in the month of August? Pratishtha, it depends on how much time you can give. It depends on how much time you can give to quant every day. If you can give enough time, then yes, it is very much possible. If you can't give, let's say, more than an hour every day, then it may be a little difficult because geometry is going to take more time. So yes, if you can give sufficient time, it is very much possible. If you see, there are hardly about, broadly categorizing, there's just 5 to 6 topics in geometry. If you include, coordinate and trigonometry in that, we can say 7 to 8 topics. If you give three days to each topic also, within 20 to 24 days, you are done with geometry, right? Number system, another 10 days, probably month and a half or 35 to 40 days. So the remaining part of July and probably half of August or full August can definitely finish. There's no problem. But it depends on how much time you can give. If you're only giving an hour every day, it may not be sufficient. Then you might have to leave one of them. I feel my quants is good, but I'm not able to solve, only able to solve 8 to 10 questions in the mock. While my score is more than 35 for sure. No, Divyanshu, I think we've already discussed this, that you need to sit and analyze you see, if you write a mock for 2 hours, you need to analyze it for 3 hours. So you have to sit, you need to sit and you need to note down your mistakes. You need to note down the cause for those mistakes. You need to note down the solution. Even if, and one more thing, one mistake that a lot of people make is they only watch the solution of the answers that they could not get, or the ones that they got wrong. You need to look at the solution for those that you got right also, because you might have used a longer method, or there may be a better way of solving. Now, if you use the better methods in 4 questions, you may be able to do one more question in the end, right? So it's very important to do a proper analysis for that. I am in my gap year and I have all the time to study. Pratishta, I gave you a breakup of basically what you need to do. First, get command on the concepts. Once you have enough command on the concepts. Okay, I've got one more good question which I will answer. Once you get enough command on the concepts, after that, practice. Practice and revise. Revise and practice. Practice and revise. Revise and practice. Do a lot of test taking, right? So, and we are giving you so many sessions. I mean, you make it to Club 100, there'll be Club 100 sessions as well. So there are ADMAT master classes, there are master classes. So there is a lot of stuff to solve. Okay. I understand the concepts well. I fail to apply them. No, then, if you are unable to apply the concepts, then probably that understanding is what I call pseudo understanding. Pseudo understanding is that whenever I see a solution, I'm able to understand that each and every step, but I'm not able to apply it. Basically, you've not understood the logic behind those steps. You've just probably, maybe not consciously, maybe not deliberately, but you've just memorized the approaches. If you have memorized, okay, so in so many years of my teaching, I know one student who memorized everything and still got into an IIT. But that is very, very rare. And that's very, very rare that you memorize math and you clear the test, because the questions are not going to be exactly the same. They're going to be different and you have to have some logic. Okay, so if there is a formula, you need to know the logic behind it, so that if they change the scenario a little bit, one is able to make that modification, right? If you're not able to make that modification, let's say that on a clock, there are 60 divisions. Now, I just give you a question that on a planet, there's a clock on which there are 90 divisions. Now, if I know the concept of relative speed over there, then I will be able to easily answer that question. But if I have just memorized the formula that, okay, in 720 divided by 11 minutes, 65 whole 5 by 11 minutes, the hands have to meet. And now that 65 by 11, 65 whole 5 by 11 doesn't work in this question. I'm not going to get my answers. So, understanding the solution when you see that is just one part. Do you understand the logic behind that? Do you understand the limitation of that? If there are formulae, do you understand the logic behind those formulae? That's the important thing. Unless and until you have that, you may not be able to apply many of them. How to increase the calculation speed practice? As I said earlier, you need to practice mental math every single day. 15 minutes of time, you just need to devote to practicing your calculation without pen and paper. Okay. Any other questions, anyone? Srijan, I think you're already doing pretty well in the quant section, in the SimCADs. And see, there's a right time to peak. So if you're already scoring around 35, 40 in the quant section, you're doing great. I mean, I wouldn't even want you to score more right now, because, if you score 50, 55, and we have only written seven SimCADs just now, you may become careless, you may become complacent, you may become overconfident. So probably, you would want to peak in the last 2 to 3 mocks and not like right in the middle of the mock. So if you're getting 35 to 40, that's great, because that gives you enough space to maneuver. There is still a lot where, you can improve. But if you start getting 50, 55, you might start neglecting quant, which may not be great. So as of now, I think you are doing good. So nothing to worry about. Okay. Any other questions does anyone have over here? Abhay, if you feel that the problem is in speed math, you definitely need to practice mental math every day. Since I've got a very good question here, which is again useful for everyone, I will just share that also with you. What are the numbers that one needs to know? Okay. So basically, if we talk about tables, first of all, there is no limit to that. As many as you can. Minimum, I would say 25. Upper limit, as many as you can. Right. Then, if we talk about the fraction percentage relation, fraction to percentage, and vice versa, I would say from 1 to 1 upon 25, definitely, that's a minimum. Beyond this, there's a lot that you need to do over here. You basically need to play with these numbers. So once you know that, let's say 1 upon 7 is 14.28, then you should know that 2 upon 7 is 28.56 or 3 upon 7 is 42.84. That is one thing. 1 upon 8 is 12.5. So 3 upon 8 is 37.5. 5 upon 8 is 62.5. That is one thing. Secondly, like suppose he's asking me something like, let's say, 41.67%. Now, if I have experimented a lot with these numbers, then I will be able to see this as 50% minus 8.33%. Now, this may not look like a standard percentage, but these are standard percentages. So without even using calculator or even pen and paper, I can easily calculate this 41.67%. Right. So the thing is that, so there's no upper limit. I mean, you need to play, you just stick up to, let's say, 1 upon 25 only, but play with those numbers. Then the next thing is squares. So squares minimum up to 31, because 31 squares 961, which is less than 1000. So up to 1000, of course, one should know the squares. And maximum, maximum, of course, there can't be any limit, but ideally one should know up to 50. Similarly, cubes, minimum up to 12. We use them very often. Up to 21, definitely, because that is within 10,000. So, okay. Then factorials, again, minimum up to 7. And ideally up to 10 factorial. Then log values. Again, I would say that up to log 10, you should definitely. So what is the value of, we're talking about base 10 here. Log 2, log 3, log 4, log 5, log 6, log 7, log 8, log 9, up to log 10, one should know the values. Then 1 upon x. 1 upon x basically gets covered here in fraction, so we don't need to look at it separately. Prime numbers. Definitely, not only should you know the prime numbers in 1 to 100, but you should also know that 1 to 50, there are 15 prime numbers, and in 51 to 100, there are 10 prime numbers. In 1 to 100, there are 25 prime numbers, and 2 is the only even prime numbers. So these kind of things you should know, because in a DILR set, they may be very, very useful. Okay, and then of course, we can keep adding more and more things to this, but yeah, minimum this much. Ideally, one should also know the square root of up to root 10. So yeah, minimum this much one should know. These are going to be very handy and definitely help you calculate faster. And then beyond this, you just keep doing your calculations. How to multiply 2-digit numbers, 3-digit numbers, how to find ratios quickly, how to do divisions quickly, all of that stuff. Right. So I think, guys, that this should be enough for today. I believe, covered all the queries, whatever information you needed. I've shared that with you. I hope this gives some direction to your quant preparation. If there are any follow-up questions, you can definitely put in the chat on YouTube. I'll try to answer those. And any other thing also regarding quant that you could not ask today, you can ask that later on in the chat. Thank you, everyone. Come back with some other topic in the next Ask Me Anything series. So keep your questions ready so that you can get more focused guidance and keep practicing, keep learning. That's the important thing. That's the only way one can grow. Fine. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this session. Sorry for the delay initially. I think there was some technical issue. I started on time, but because of a technical issue, live streaming was not happening. So I hope still it added some value to your preparation. See you in the next session.